Hey everyone, welcome back. Season 2, and we are in week 8. And I'm excited to talk to you today about something I really struggle with, and that's staying in the present, right? I don't know how many of you really have a hard time with that. I know I do, because I'm somebody who really has to discipline down my thoughts, because I emotionally time travel and I mentally time travel all the time, right? And I think a lot of us do that, where we are focusing on, the things that we have to take care of in the future, or the demands of our job for the next couple of days, or what our kids need, in the next couple of days, or next year, or next month, or whatever. We also focus a lot on the things we don't know in the future, right? Like, oh, well, I don't know, what happens to us when we die, and I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I don't know this, and I don't know that, and I don't know so much, right? And that future focus is really, really problematic, because what we do is our thoughts go there first, right? We're thinking about the things we have to get done, how, how to do it, this, that, and the other thing, things we don't know, things we do know, things we want to plan for. And we tell ourselves we're prepping, right? But where thoughts start first, feelings soon follow. So what happens is that we start feeling overwhelmed, anxious, confused, frustrated, because we are planning for something that we know literally nothing about. And we're trying to tell ourselves that we do know, that we can figure it out, that we have control over this thing, right? And this is why I struggle with it, because I'm somebody who has a hard time with let it go, let it flow, right? I have a hard time with that, because in my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm trying to plan for it and take care of all these little things and take care of everything, then it'll be fine, right? I got this. I got this. So if you're somebody who really struggles with future stuff, right? Welcome, join the club. That's my problem all the time. I'm always struggling with that future, those future issues, like I want to know this, and I want to do this, and I want to understand that. I'm especially bad at transitions, right? Because transitions require us, successful transitions require us to stay in the present, which I'll talk about in a minute. The whole topic's about presence, staying present, but ending anything, right, and transitioning to the next thing. When you end, you have to be present, you have to be mindful, and you have to have clarity about the future and appreciation for the past. And that's hard to do. That's hard to do, right? Because we're excited about the future. We're over the past. Some of us are wishing for the past and nervous about the future, right? And so time really, I'll talk more about time as a construct later on in the season, right? Because time as a construct goes into like a lot of really deep things. But for right now, I just want to talk about present and being present, right? So if you're somebody who's future focused, you're probably like overwhelmed, anxious, controlling. Those are all feelings that come from focusing on those thoughts of like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, this, and this. And we tell ourselves, we tell ourselves, well, I just am preparing myself. I just need to be prepared. I just need to know. What ends up happening a lot of times with that is that we plan and prep for situations that genuinely never happen, right? And you've seen that a lot, like what is it? Man plans, God laughs. It's that idea that we can plan all we want, but it doesn't mean it's going to go that way. I'll tell you truthfully, like when I first got put on parole, which, is a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but I had planned to go to South Carolina to get my PhD in literature. And what ended up happening is that even though I had an apartment, I had all this stuff, when South Carolina had to accept me, right, as a parolee, you have to get accepted, they were like, yeah, no, sorry, you can't live here because this is protected property and you're a threat, which I know is like comical, like I am a threat, but fine. And so I was devastated. I was devastated because I had planned, right? I had planned to do this thing and get this PhD and have this thing. Doesn't matter that that plan was completely flawed, right? What am I going to do with this PhD? Why do I even want it? Why am I spending 6 years getting a PhD in literature when for what? for literally for what? Because I said I would. Like, get out of here. It doesn't make any sense. But I was too prideful, right? I'm living too far in the future. Well, I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to get it done, and blah, blah, blah. So when we are focused on the future, we have a lot of expectation that we put on it. And when we put that expectation on the future, what ends up happening is that like 9.5 times out of 10, we're disappointed. Now, I was crushed. I mean, at that point, personally, like that point, it had been a very long 2 years for me. So, I was suicidal. Like, I won't even lie. I was suicidal. Like, I was not okay. I was just like, I have nothing to live for. I have nothing to do. Like, and again, that was me being even future focused then, but also present focused. My present was terrible and I saw no hope and no way out. So I was ready to, end that feeling, which is a whole nother story also for a whole nother day. So many stories that I could tell you, but I'm not going to because I want to focus on present. Actually, I will tell you a story, not right now, but we have 20 subscribers. And so we get a story. So if you're interested, I will post a story sometime this week. So that'll be exciting. Maybe I'll just maybe I'll record it after this. We'll see. I don't know what I'm going to tell you yet. We'll see what happens. So actually, maybe I'll take it to the audience. Maybe I'll poll. I'll poll. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was going back to the present, right? We're talking about the present. So let me stay in the present. You see me? Look at that. Look at that. That was me thinking about the future. Look at that, right? I'm planning of the things I have to do for you instead of being in this moment talking to you about things I need to talk about. You can't even plan that. That just happened. That's why we stay in the present. That's why we stay in the present. We love that. Let's talk about the past, right? Because a lot of times in order to understand what something is, we want to kind of clarify what it's not, right? Being present is not being in the future, obviously, right? And again, we don't even realize we're doing it. Like, I just did it, didn't even realize it. So we have to kind of be aware of like, oh shoot, I am future time traveling. Like, I am doing that thing. And also it's not the past, right? In the past, we do this a lot. When we focus on the things we don't have anymore, right? Relationships, people, maybe a job, maybe a house, maybe a car, maybe the way we were treated, maybe the trust we lost, right? When we focus on what happened in the past, we end up really just making ourselves miserable most of the time because there's nothing good that comes from the past anymore because it's not here, right? So even if you reflect on this like amazing time that you had, you're still doing yourself a huge disservice because you don't have it anymore. And so you're always looking back at that nostalgia and nothing is ever as good as it was, right? So the thing that's tough about looking in the past is that it's subjective. We don't remember it. We change the brain. Neuroscience will tell us we literally change our perception. We can change a memory, and we do. So the past is subjective. It doesn't exist anywhere but in minds. It's not a thing anymore, right? It's gone. And so when we focus on it, we are inherently going to be disappointed, frustrated, and upset because we're either looking back at the things we no longer have, we're looking back at the things we did have and we did experience that we did like, and it's not happening like that now, right? We only look to the past when we're uncertain about the present. That's pretty much what we do. If we're uncertain about the present, we're uncertain about the future, we look to the past. And a lot of people do this. They focus. I actually had someone the other day who commented on one of these videos and was like, oh, it's so ironic you're talking about this. Like, we all know your history. And I was like, no, you don't. First off, I don't know why you're bringing that energy from 3 years ago into something that's happening in the present. That's bizarre. Don't do it. And second off, you don't know anybody's history. I don't even know my history. I blocked half of it out because it was really hurtful and I didn't know how to deal with it. Right? So we really do this a lot where we hold on to what we know from an instance in our own lives or in someone else's, and we project it as if it still is the reality, right? So if you've ever lost somebody, right? Let's say you lost somebody, and you think about, this is what we always do actually. When we lose somebody to death, we always memorialize them. Instant memorialization. Instant. We don't care about the bad things they did because they're gone. So we are sort of obligated to focus on them and the good things they did, right? And this was why at one point the allure to kill myself was so real, because I was like, doubt anybody will remember the one bad thing I did, and everyone will remember that the love I gave and the safety they felt with me and the security and like the empowerment, right? It was a very tempting thing, to be perfectly honest with you, because we idolize the people who have passed on. We're always looking to the past, always. So if we're not looking to the future, we're looking to the past. You know, we're really never looking our current day reality. We're never looking at our present. We hate the present. We take it for granted. And honestly, I don't know why my nose is so itchy. The Office tells us really well. Andy Bernard, if you've ever seen The Office, I'm not spoiling by telling you this, but it is the last episode of the last season. And he says, I don't know why people don't tell you you're in the good old days when you're in them, right? Because that's what we do. We're so busy planning our next thing that we're not enjoying our current thing. I lived like this for literally 30 years. Like I lived like this because I was always planning the next thing. I know people who are always looking back in the past, so they're never really appreciating the present, and they're actually scared of the future, right? And you've seen that with people who like idolize their high school days. I'm like, why? But they idolize their high school days because it was like they were at their peak. They peaked in high school. You've heard that, I'm sure. They peaked in high school. And so they hold on to the past so much in their glory days that they literally don't have a present and they never live a future, right? So how can we focus on the present? Because yes, today is a present. Is why today's a gift. Is why we call it the present. But more than that, if we cannot focus on the present, we cannot be present with the people we're in relationship with, right? That's really tough, because if you're never focusing on, and I, again, learned this the hard way. I learned all these lessons the hard way that I bring to you guys. I literally learned every single one the hard way. I wish I didn't, but I do. So like, here we are. So here is the thing. If we are not present in our mindset, we cannot be present in our relationships. So how do we get present? Well, we slow down. Ugh, I know, I hate that too. I do, right? We slow down. We stop trying to put everything in motion on our timeline. We stop trying to hold on to yesteryear, right? And we slow down. And as they say, stop and smell the roses. Because really, when we slow ourselves, when we slow our roll, when we check ourselves before we wreck ourselves, what we're doing is stopping momentum from flowing in any direction. Remember, energy, what is it? Energy flows where focus goes. I don't know why I blanked on that for a minute. Energy flows where focus goes. So if you're always focusing on the future, that energy that you have is always going to the future. Your momentum is future based. You're leading out of the present. So you can't be present with anybody. If you are constantly looking in the past, going back, then you again cannot be present, because your energy, your focus is going momentum backwards. And if you're being pulled back by your own self, you can't be going forward, right? I mean, yes, sometimes there's that arrow metaphor where you have to get pulled back a little bit to like really shoot forward. That's true as far as healing is concerned, right? When we have to go forward to heal, we have to go back into that pain a little bit and then shoot forth. But a lot of people just get stuck in that position and they're not actually looking back, like to heal. They're just looking back to relive, and like, you can't relive the past. We're not at real time travel yet, right? I don't know that we'll get there, but I'm sure people are working on it somewhere, right? I can't wait to talk to you about time as a construct. Ooh, I can't wait, but that's still some weeks away. Yeah, it's still some weeks That's out of the spiritual mastery course, and it might be a little too deep, but we're going deep. I'm not worried. Not worried. So, staying present. Again, do you see? Do you see? I do it all the time. Do you see me catch myself? Here I am talking about what I'm doing week 20. It's week 7 or 8. This is what we do as humans, and I know I struggle with it. I know I struggle with it, right? I'm in the process of getting ready for a move, and I don't know where I'm moving. I don't know how I'm doing it. And some roadblocks are coming up, some difficulties, things are coming up. And you have to be really careful, because when we hold that future expectation, when something gets in the way of it, it messes the calibration up in the present, right? So that's why we have to show, let go, let flow, right? We have to show up. We have to do our part always for future events, right? We have to show up. We have to do our part. But then we have to just like relax and say, okay, I did this. Let's chips fall where they may, right? So present, staying present is a real discipline. I know people say meditate to stay in the present. That's true. Meditation is great to stay in the present, but meditation doesn't have to be this like huge spiritual experience. Like, it can be anything that brings you back to focus. Gratitude is like the best way to do it, right? When we're feeling upset about all the things we don't have, it's very easy to come back to present by focusing on what we do have. And that is, I'm so grateful I have a roof over my head. I'm so grateful I have clothes in my closet. I'm so grateful I have the proper resources to live wherever I live. I'm so grateful for the sun. I'm so grateful for the rain. I'm so grateful for my car. I'm so grateful for my cats. Once you start bringing yourself to present and looking at it positively, it uplifts you. You're naturally uplifted, right? So you want to cultivate that present mindset. So gratitude, yes. Meditation, yes. Of course, right? Exercise, great way to stay present. Problem with exercise for me is that I'm like too present and miserable. Like, I have to get myself in the place where I'm like, I'm so excited to exercise today. This is great, and I'm not always there. But exercise is a great way to stay present, because you're physically exerting yourself in such a way that you're disciplining your brain. It cannot look forward or back, right? It only has to stay in the present. It has no choice, because it's focusing on your body and the pain that your body's in if you're really, working out, the exhaustion that you have. So these are all good mindful ways to stay present. Meditate, gratitude, cultivate gratitude, work out. But really, it is a discipline of self-awareness, right? That's why, like, when I coach one-on-one, it is self-awareness that we start with, because we have to be very self-aware to start. Is, are we more future focused or past focused, right? So ask yourself, like, which one do I default to? You will default to one. I mean, unless you're like super like disciplined in mind, body, spirit, like, I would say you're probably defaulting to one. I always default future. It's always, and if you are somebody who like shoves things down, like emotions and things, just like you don't want to deal with, and you just like full steam ahead, rub some dirt on it and like full steam ahead, you're a future-based person. If you find that you're like anxious about the future, it takes you a while to make decisions, you're like kind of hemming and hawing, you sort of glorify the past, you reminisce a lot about all these old times that you had, you're probably more past-based. Neither one of them is a problem per se, right? We're living in what we already knew because we were really happy there, or we're like, we enjoyed it. Or we're living in what we don't know yet because we're excited for what's to come, because we don't really love our past, present reality, right? But what'll give us that real nice grounded place is if we focus on present and we be grateful for what we do have. It does really change a lot. It really, really does. So find out the first thing, self-awareness, right? Self-awareness presence starts with self-awareness. Everything starts with self-awareness. Which one are you focused on? Future or past? Like, that's what we need to know, right? So if you're focused on the future, and again, like I said, I struggle with that one, bring yourself back to base. You'll probably start catching yourself like I do, which is like, oh, I'm sitting here talking about present, I'm talking about this, right? And if you're past based, pay attention to those times that you're looking back, metaphorically looking back. Nothing good comes from looking back. I mean, there's really, I love to just throw a story in. There's that whole story about Sodom and Gomorrah and all that bad stuff happening, but really what happens, Lot's, her wife, God says don't look back, and she does, and she ends up getting struck down. I mean, they say she gets turned to a pillar of salt. I really don't think that happened. What I think happened is that she got struck down, and then the salt, because they were at the Mediterranean Sea, and then there's ash and fire and all that. I think that she got kind of like rained on and encrusted in that, but that's just my own belief. Anyhow, long and short, it is hard to stay present, but it is helpful to stay present. So slow down, take that breath, try not to get up in your feelings and your thoughts. I know it's hard to do, and really try to focus on your present. If nothing else, at least be aware of the fact that you don't. If you can't do it yet, focus on be aware of the fact that you're not good at it. When we're present in our life, we're also present in our relationships, and everything just gets better. So hope that's helpful to you guys. I will see you here next week. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe, tell your friends. Remember, at 40, we're getting another story, but you guys are due a story, so I will give you one, my personal life, plenty to pick from, and we'll talk more about it sometime this week. I'll see you guys probably Thursday. I think Thursday, but I'll see you guys.